Yeah, good.
This is Daisy, and this is Riley. And this is their roadmap to success. Daisy got you some drool on you. And Daisy, you got a photobomb? Daisy, Daisy. Come here, let's try it over here. Daisy. All right, and she's like, no, I want some attention from my human. All right, well, basically, this is their roadmap to success. These are dogs that have only been in the home for about 3 weeks, excuse me, and so they're still getting adjusted. The guardians are a little bit concerned that they want to make sure that they felt comfortable and loved up here. Come. And so they were doing a lot of petting, but at times, sit. The times that we pet our dogs is important, so I'll just transition to passive training, which is what I just did there. Anytime your dog offers you a behavior that you want and you pet them within 3 seconds and say the command word, you can make that a command that they do more often. Come. Even though she only took 1 step, she came towards me and I said, come. So this way I'm not luring the dog, I'm waiting for the dog to do it on their own, and I'm just recognizing and rewarding this the same way our parents do when we're kids. You know, if we get an A, sit. I could have said sit or come there. I probably should have said come because that's more challenging. But we're recognizing the dog for doing things that we want and just assigning a command word. With enough repetition, the dogs will figure this out. This is kind of what I was doing by the feeding video above this, where we went through chow and feast or whatever the words that we used. So we use it only in context of when the dog is doing whatever the thing that we want is. That's passive training, which is just recognizing. So if we do see, and she's thinking about going down the stairs, there's a bully stick down there. That's all right. The guardians will figure out their own. But basically, we're giving the dog a motivation to want to do things because every time they do this specific action, they hear the same command word and they get a treat. Make sure you say just the command word, not good sit or good dog or oh, what a pretty dog. Sit. When she sits, just pet her and say the word sit. If I give the command to sit, I really say it twice. Sit. Again, always stay within sit. So once during the command stage with a motion or a gesture, and then once during the reward stage to put those things together. Now I'm waving on top of the dog's head, but we really don't want to pet a dog on top of the head, especially pat. When we can scratch and caress, we just don't want to pat because that creates a lower nose, and that's an insecure body posture for dogs. So whenever possible, try to pet them under the chin, and again, exclusively say the command word. I'd also like the guardians to come up with a list of command words. Try to come up with some fun command words because dogs can read your facial expression. That will help. And make sure we help each other out. So if we come in the room and we see somebody saying come here and the word is come, we say vocabulary, the person says come. So it's much easier for the dogs if we only use one command word. And also, inflection matters. So if we say sit and the dog sits, we say sit to a dog. Those sound like completely different commands. Come. This is passive training. I wouldn't have to use a treat here. I could just use affection. But she came on her own. She was coming anyways. I just simply recognized it. And after a while, when I do that enough, if I say come, she comes to me to anticipate getting that affection. Now, the dogs also nudge and scratch for attention. And that's a way of telling the humans what to do. Sit. And if the dog tells me what to do and I do it, after a while, that gives the dog the impression it has more authority than I do. In some situations, it gets the dog to think that it actually, probably somebody snowblowing next door. Daisy. A little distraction. Distraction's always key. But if the dog tells me what to do and I do it consistently, then the dog feels like it is responsible for me. And that barking is probably related to not having a lot of rules. Also, not a lot of socialization exposure, doesn't know what that snowblower or whatever that is. Come. So that's why by naming all these commands, we make it easier. We put things in context for the dogs. So remember, if you want to pet the dog, still tell it to sit or do something for it unless it offers you the activity on its own. I usually say paycheck. If we come in the room, we see somebody's petting the dog and stand, we say paycheck, reward. Just pet. Your affection is fine. You don't always have to use a treat. So the dog sat, and we just want to say pat under the chin, just say the word sit. Treats are great, but affection is actually a better reward for the dog, and it's just good for you to get in the habit of doing it. So I come in the room, I see someone petting the dog and standing, I say paycheck. That just means I suspect you may have forgotten to pet with the purpose. And the person who's doing that should stop petting, tell the dog to sit, and then we can tell the other person, I actually asked the dog to sit before he came in the room, and you just didn't see it. I also use reward or recognize. So if we say reward, I have one client that say testify. Again, I like fun words. So if you say testify, that means that you go over whatever the dog happens to be doing at the time that they do it. We're going to look at the dog and say, come, if it's standing there. If it's sitting, we're going to pet it and say sit. If it's laying down, we're going to pet it and say crash or lay or whatever the words is that the guardian wants to use. Sit. But the more that we reward the dog's desired behaviors, the better at them they're going to get, and also the more inclined they are to do them when we ask them to do them. Let me see. That's petted with purpose of passive training. I went over escalating consequences. I'm going to do it very short for you. I normally don't do this, but first thing is hiss. Second thing is stand up abruptly, turn to face the dog, and keep pivoting until the dog's stationary, stand, sit, or lie down. As soon as it is, take 2 steps backward, left, right, or right, left. Stop 1 second. That's your way of saying we're done. And then go back to doing what you're doing. That's the second consequence. Standing up abruptly, turn to face the dog. 2 steps backwards as soon as it's stationary. Wait 1 second, go back to doing what you're doing. You know, lay. Lay. The third consequence I have is marching directly at the dog until it turns sideways. When it turns sideways, it's a way of saying, I hear you. So you march directly at the dog with some intent. Don't stop, but move briskly towards the dog. And as soon as it turns sideways, stop. Put your feet back together, then you go to the second consequence. You're pivoting until it's stationary, and then you take the steps backwards, follow the rest of the steps. The only time this doesn't apply is if the dog's in a designated no dog zone. There's a carpet here. One of the rules that would be if the dog is, if somebody's eating food here, the dog's not allowed to be on the carpet. So the dog walked over here, and that human marched at the dog and turned sideways here. It's still in designated no dog zone. So they would keep on marching into the dog and bumping into it until it gets across the line. Once it gets across the line, we're going to stop. The dog will probably try to go around you, so you have to beat it to the punch. Do that multiple times, and eventually the dog will figure out they're saying I'm not supposed to be on the carpet. The fourth consequence I have is putting a dog on a leash and stepping on a leash to give it a leash timeout, waiting for it to lay down, and then it's done. Let me see. Also, whenever possible, break things down in individual steps so that the dog come. So that the dog can practice each step individually. Now for come, hold up your hand with a 45-degree bend at your elbow. If the dog doesn't come, then I make a kissing sound to get it to look and then start lowering it to get it to come to you. When it gets to the place we want, we raise it over its head. Always come back to the dog's nose. Come. And then I pet under the chin. So remember, hold your arm out like this. Don't start off of here or here. You don't have anywhere to go. So start in the middle and say only once, come, or the dog's name. If it doesn't come, I'll show you right here. I'm going to blank in the name. Riley. Come. See how that lowering made her come over. All right, we're going to finish this up here. Come. Let's go over potty training. The 3 times the dog's going to have to go. Right after waking up, 5 minutes after eating, and 15 minutes after playtime. After those 3 times, take the dog outside. As soon as it starts to pee or poop, don't tell it to what to do. As soon as it starts to pee or poop, say the word business or Putin or whatever your word is. As soon as the dog gets done, pop the treat in their mouth and say the word again. So the first one is to connect the command with the action. Second one is to connect the command word with the reward. Also, only say the command word once. The more we say it, the less we mean it to dogs. So as soon as she pees or poops, if you want to go ahead and do that, that's fine. We're going to say the command word and reward the dog for doing it. Now, if I give a command, I actually give the command twice. Not for something the dog doesn't already know. But if the dog knows how to sit, I say sit during the command stage. When the dog sits, then I pet it and say sit again during the reward stage. A lot of people say good sit or good boy or good girl. The more words we use, the harder it is for dogs to understand. That's why I recommend the guardians come up with a list of all the appropriate command words and exclusively use those words. So if we come in the room, somebody's saying come here, and the word is come, we say vocabulary, the person says just whatever that word is. I think I already went through that in this video. I do these a lot. Let me see. Rules that we went over, not being allowed within 7 feet of anyone who's eating. That includes the dogs. So the dogs were actually separated when they were eating. That way one dog doesn't have to look over his shoulder to see if the other dog's trying to come and take my food. Riley likes to go and stick his chin or her chin over Daisy's back. That's an attempt at domination. We need to disagree with that. We can do it with a hiss initially. If that doesn't work, then we're going to march over there and march towards her until she moves away and gives Daisy some appropriate space. Let me see. Don't get in the habit of walking through the dogs instead of walking around them. Dogs need to learn my job is to defer whenever a human's around. The steps, we'll get to in a second, but other rules, the dog has to sit before it goes in or out of a door. If I say sit, the dog's going to sit, then I walk away after about 2 or 3 seconds, wait 1 minute, be sitting down somewhere. Then come back to the door and tell it to sit a second time. If it doesn't sit, then I walk away this time for 2 minutes, then for 4 minutes, then for 8 minutes. I keep on doubling the length of time each time until the dog eventually does what I want, and sits. And as soon as it does, I open the door like there's remote control in their butt. Other rules would be not to be allowed on the tile here when the humans are eating at the kitchen table here. You're going to use that third escalating consequence to march towards the dog and move it away. Okay, so the stairs. What we did was basically we offered a lot of tasty treats on the way down the stairs, but that still wasn't enough. We have kind of a short flight and then a landing and another flight of stairs. What I had the guardian do is pick up the dog, put it on that landing, and then we hang out up here. The dog, eventually the dog walked up the stairs. We actually put some treats on the stairs and some other things. Recreate that scenario. Try to do that a couple of times a day, once with each dog, once a day. And we would like to get that within a week that they're going up and down the stairs, at least inside. The outdoor stairs are going to be open, and even though they use them, I wouldn't try to force those too much unless we get rid of the snow and ice, because we don't want them to slip. That will backfire and that will make it much more difficult. I'd rather have you walking down the stairs here and walking them out through the basement landing into the backyard. Make sure the humans are eating something first. I went covering everything for eating in the top video. This is going to be a little bit of shorter roadmap to success for me because there's a blizzard going on and I want to get home before the ground freezes. This is Riley and Daisy's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it.